Your favorite sports show, Sports Extra. My name is Fiifi Anaman. Lovely Wednesday evening, and we love Wednesdays right here on the show because this is where we get to talk to a journalist, a sports journalist at that, get to know them and their career, their challenges, their ups, their downs, and everything else that is happening behind the storyteller. So we are going to do the storyteller story tonight as we've always done. Remember, you can join the show via the hashtag Extra Live across all our social media platforms. Better still, you can visit our page on Facebook, Sports Extra, on Twitter at Sports Extra GH, as well as Instagram, Sports Extra Online. So tonight, we'll be doing some boxing conversation with one of my favorite journalists. Now, I say favorite for so many reasons that you find out, hopefully, during the course of the conversation. Now, this man recently was in the news. I'm sure a lot of you got wind of that particular incident that was at the first press conference of the Normalization Committee. Remember that bit? A journalist challenging one of the members of the committee. We have that journalist in the studio. Mr. Ekow Asmah is our guest tonight. Good evening, Mr. Asmah.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Good, 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 good. Great to be here. First time.
Great to, yes, finally have you on the show.
I've made history.
Now, Ekow, so a lot of people saw you during a press conference and they were like, okay, we don't really know him. You've been a bit low-key, you know. I mean, you were there, and you left, and you came back, and, you know, nobody really knows what has been going on with you. So, what really is your story?
Well, thank you very much. I got an opportunity to work with some of the greatest names in sports journalism, folks that I used to read, you know. But before then, way before then, I discovered I had a writing talent.
Right.
And it was somewhere in 1982, getting ready for the leap into the fifth form to go do O-level, long vacation. Ironically, it was one of the opposite sex that I was interested in. So I started chronicling the, you know, how the interactions were going.
Right.
He happened to be the cousin of a friend of mine. Actually, same house, same form and all that. So I was chronicling all this to go show him what happened. And it didn't go that well.
So it was a story of love, would you say?
Yes,
okay.
I wasn't that skilled in that department.
Right.
So I got to show it to him when we got to school, Springfield College. So Form 5, I showed it to him and it's like, wow, you got some skill in writing. You know, I didn't really know about it, but I was just chronicling how it went.
Okay.
So then they encouraged me to, you know, stick to writing, you know, take it up.
So you discovered that you love writing from writing love letters.
It wasn't a love letter. It was about chronicling how the interactions would go, you know.
So documenting
it was like fiction, you know, but this was real, you know. So I showed it to him. And so word got around, some of my mates got to know that I had some skill in writing. Some incident happened there, and they said, oh, go see him, let him write it up. Right. So I wrote it up. So it stayed with me. That wasn't what I wanted to do originally. Okay. I wanted to play football. Oh. I believed that I was the next guy, you know. Joe Debra of Kotoko fame lived right next to my house. Okay. And he was great, and I could stop him.
So you lived in Kumasi?
Yes.
Okay.
Aswase, you know, between Aswase proper and Ababo number 1.
Right.
You know, so I lived in Kumasi and school and holidayed in Accra, right across from the JBC. I lived in one of those bungalows. So I schooled in Kumasi in the Zongo. I lived somewhere at Aswase, that was just in the Zongos. Okay. Went to school at Royal International School right across from Ahmadiyya Secondary. Ahmadiyya. Yeah. So
then of course to Prempeh College.
Yes, and then from I'm linking this. I don't want to jump so we get the connection to boxing. Right. Because my primary school, Royal International School, was walled in by the Kumasi Stadium. And there was a tunnel from the school into the stadium. So during my break, me and a few of my mates would go through the tunnel, go into the stadium where I would see somebody like some Akroma hitting the bags. And it fascinated me. That was my first encounter with boxing. Okay. So in the evenings, we would be doing shadow boxing and all that. And then around that time, it was Muhammad Ali and Foreman getting into it at that time. So we were calling ourselves after Foreman or Muhammad Ali, going by the outcomes.
Right.
And then around that time, David Kote Poison won the world title. That's right. So then his name was household. You know, songs were made of him, DK Poison, Wakofa Bo, and I was a kid, and it captured my imagination. And that stayed with me. So fast forward, I discovered that I had this skill. You know, I couldn't continue to do what I wanted to do. Eventually, I got into Mount Mary Training College. I was there for 2 years, but I wanted to do journalism, really, at that point. Before I got to Mount Mary Training College, a former president of SWAG, Willie Kwate, he's passed now.
Right.
He lived down my road.
We used to write for the Ghanaian Times?
Yes, and he had his own paper too, Sporting Sun.
Okay.
So I said, oh, okay, I could write sports. You know, I could write. So eventually, he started teaching me a little bit of that. Why didn't you go to journalism school? He said. I said, oh, that's what I want to do. But, you know, it wasn't possible immediately because my mom didn't want that. Okay. So go to teacher.
What did your mom want you to do?
French teacher. I was good at French. She taught me French. Before I went to prep college, she taught me French, Latin.
So you speak fluent French?
Not now.
Okay.
I used to speak very fluently, but now, not so much. She taught me Latin, French, German. Before I got to prep college. Unfortunately, when I got there, we didn't have German and Latin teachers, but the Latin stayed with me because most of the English words have roots in the Latin. So you can tell even today, if somebody speaks, you can get it. So she wanted me to do French, go to teacher training at Somenya, Mount Mary. So I was there for 2 years, and it took me a while. I rebelled against it for about 6 years and eventually went. And then from there, in the second year was for 3 years. In the second year, I gained admission to GIJ.
Wow.
So I quit.
You had to leave teacher training.
I left and then to GIJ.
You didn't hesitate?
No. That's what I wanted to do. You know, because I discovered way back in high school I had the skill of writing. Now I had to go to a school to be taught how
to hone your skill.
Yes, you know, hone it. So I couldn't wait. Once I got in there, and then I specialized in sports reporting. And then during our internship, I got a chance to work with Graphic, Times, and a number of places. And then I did my national service with Graphic, working with the crack team of journalists, Joe Agri, Big Joe, Felix Abayate, Samuel Kisiedu, the late Samuel Kaite, Perpetua Krenzel, you know, crack team of journalists, and I killed myself for the job. So they couldn't wait to teach me all kinds of skills. And then, mind you, I had already been taught a little bit by Mr. Willie Kwate, former SWAG president, then by Joe Agri, SWAG president. So I got the benefit of learning from two SWAG presidents, plus my other senior colleagues that taught me, you know, all kinds of skills. You know, everybody wanted to give to me because they thought I was killing myself for the job. I worked there 2 years, did my national service. Most folks thought that I was staff of Graphic.
Because of the way you work?
I was never staff there. I was a service personnel, but I couldn't believe it that these were the people that I was reading and I'm working with them. It's so surreal, I can't believe it. For me, that was the pay. That's it. And my byline. No, that's my name.
Exposure.
That's my name in the graphic sports. Really, is that me? I had to pinch myself. So I couldn't believe it. I was like a kid at a candy store, like, wow. That was it for me. So I killed myself and did it. And it helped because I got windfalls from that. Right. You know, right after that, then I got signed on by private enterprise. That didn't happen. The printing press was bought as is. Once it got here, it couldn't work. So for 2 years, we couldn't work. During that time, I published. Graphic. Yes. During that time, I published 2 books. The first one was the DK Poison story. Then the second one was Celebration of Our World Champions. So that was the book 2. That was 97. Now, around that time, Ikote saw with the Celebration of Our World Champions that I had given him his due. No,
hold that though. We'll come to the Ikote story in a bit, but we have to do a break here on Sports Extra Storyteller Story Series. If you just joined us, we are talking with Mr. Ekow Asmah. He's a veteran sports journalist. He has a book that he has written, which will be launched tomorrow night at the Bukom Boxing Arena. We'll be talking about that right after this commercial break.
Nice.
staying with us right here on Sports Extra. We're doing a Storyteller story series conversation with Ekow Asmah, who is a sports journalist, freelance as it is now, but he has a book coming up that we'll be talking about in the bit. But Ekow, right before the break, you were talking about meeting Ikote and, you know, getting to work with him. How was that experience like?
Well, I had almost gotten ready to publish my second book. The cover was going to be, remember the Azumah Nelson conquest of Fennec in Australia with that crown, and then printed the cover and all that, and then Azumah lost that weekend. It was somewhere in March of '97. I was crushed. I couldn't believe it. Got my cover printed and all that. Then Ikote's negotiations were successful, and they nailed down the June 4th date. And so I said to myself, almost like I was talking to Ikote, you must win that fight.
Because if you don't win, my book goes down.
My cover is out of the way. So, and he won. Right. You know, I owe Sickens a whole lot that he doesn't even know. I watched that fight live. It was in his cantonment home, live, when he took apart Espana. It was a terrible terror, brutalizing folks in the ring, and he managed, he survived some scare and all that, and managed to knock him out in the 11th round of a scheduled 12-round WBA welterweight fight showdown. So then I used, and then when he returned from conquering the world of WBA welterweights, I happened to be the first person to interview him. He was then at the Novotel, now the Accra City Hotel, you know. So then after that, then there was a ride around town organized for him, and I covered it for Graphics Post. So I developed some bond with Ikote. Since he won, I interviewed him, and then the ride around town. So we had that bond. So when he saw that I used, and at the time, then he was the only world champion. So in changing the cover of my book, I used his big half of the cover, and then the other world champions. At the time we had 5. So Azumah, DK Poison, Alfred Kote. Alfred had no one yet, and Anaya Okunedu over there. And then, but by the time that I was printing, Alfred had 1, so I included his. So Ike saw it and thought, oh, he's giving me my due. Ike always wanted his due. Ike is big outside of here.
He felt overshadowed by Azumah Nelson.
Azumah was there before him, way before him, and Azumah could touch the people. Ike, not so much.
Okay.
But
was there a problem of charisma?
Ike, no, Ike doesn't have that kind of personality. Okay. You only get to see Ike when you're really close to him. You know, you have to wow Ike with your humility, and then that will humble him. You know, and I never had any problem with Ike. People were like, "Oh, wow, Ike has a serious case of anger management. You're able to work with him." No. You know, you can see through if you are genuine or not. If you're not authentic, you can see through it. You know, just give the person their due, that's it. And then they'll give you your due. So I never had a problem with it. And then, so he said, okay, well, since you're giving me my due, I want you to be my publicist. So that's how I became his publicist. Had some problems here with them, with some of his management folk that thought I was trying to take Ike away from them. It was strange to me.
Gatekeepers.
Yes, but no, I'm talking about his management. Okay. I thought I was taking him away from them. There was a reason. They had taken Ike away from his previous management. Okay. Yofi Boham used to manage Ikote and Afrikote. They were called the Twin Flames. So it was ironic that they thought that I was just doing publicity work for Ikote. But that was the beginning of my problems. That extended to the States. Okay. You know, they went to the States first. I joined them, and I was supposed to be with them the entire time, but there was a disconnection. I could never get through to them. Okay. So 3 weeks before the fight, until after the fight, just before the fight. So we went to the fight. After the fight, okay, we're going to go watch a fight here, and California will be back. Next thing I knew, we're in Ghana. Wow. So, you know, but I maintained the relationship with them. Me and Ike are really cool. I even spoke yesterday with Oko Odampton. Okay. Ike is going to the States today for Oko Odampton's daughter's wedding. Right. You know, so we maintained the relationship since I've been back. So then I got stuck in the States for 5 years.
Whoa.
Before
so you ended up in the States because of Ikote? Yes. And then you stayed in the States afterwards.
What I didn't know was that what what took me there was a work visa.
Okay.
I had no idea.
Okay.
So I went to the Social Security office. I wanted some kind of identification. Actually, I went to buy a magazine for my sister, Cosmopolitan. They asked me for my ID.
Wow.
So, and this ID thing was new, alien to me, because we don't ask for IDs. Well, now we do.
Right.
But at the time, we didn't need to show any ID. So I showed them my passport. They said, no, you need a Social Security or driver's license. So I went to the Social Security office and I applied. And I applied not for work because I didn't want to be in trouble with the law.
Okay.
And I waited for over 30 minutes. It was supposed to take 3 minutes. So I approached the clerk at the counter and she said, well, show me your passport. I showed it. She said, oh, no, you're supposed to apply for work. Wow. Because your visa is work visa.
Okay.
So
and you hadn't known about
it?
No,
I had no idea. So, because I didn't want to apply for work and get into trouble. I didn't come here to work. I came to cover this fight. I was here as a publicist, and I got stranded. I'm just looking for some kind of identification to find my way before I get out of here.
Wow.
And they said, yeah, you should apply for work because you have work visa. You were given permission to work here.
Wow.
Voila. So
that was an opportunity, a blessing.
I had no idea, but they said, yeah. So I applied for that, and within 3 weeks, I got my documentation. I used it to do my state ID. At the time, I was in Michigan. Okay. Did my state ID, and then did my work, my permit, driver's permit. Before you get your license to drive, they call it the permit. Right. You are permitted to drive with a driver, a licensed driver in your car. And so until you get to know the ropes, and then you do the road test. If you pass, if you fail 3 times, then you have to reschedule again.
So you went through all that?
Through all that, but I left Michigan, came to Massachusetts. It was too cold. It's just too cold. Because downtown Michigan I live in Detroit. Okay. Downtown Detroit is like Canada. It's Canada, really. It's really cold, and the wind chill effect is, you can't imagine it.
So you had to move to another
So I left to Massachusetts, which is also cold, but not as cold.
As cold.
You know.
For 5 years?
Yeah, before I could come to Ghana. I was determined.
From which year to which year?
97 to 2002.
Wow.
I was determined to come to Ghana. People really try to discourage you from, why are you going to Ojakrom? This Ojakrom, what are you going to do? I said, no, I lost my place. You didn't come here for, yes. I lost my place, you know, because at the time I was doing very well in journalism. My wife was here, my 3-year-old, I had left my 3-year-old here for 5 years. It was difficult for me. I was very depressed. Wow. You know, in 1 month, I spent about $3,000 on phone calls. Whoa. Yes. So when you know some folks in the States, and you just pray for them. Wow. Folks outside. That's interesting. It was difficult. So I was always constantly calling. At the time, it was difficult getting through. You know, you call all calls to the country, you're calling are busy. Wow. With your phone, with a scratch card. So then I signed on for AT&T. It's direct, so you could just call, and it was clear and all that. I was constantly calling. That's interesting. Fiifi Anaman, Maurice Kwanzaa. I was calling constantly, and that was the way
just for some comfort.
And it was difficult. Even you turn on the TV to watch sports, all you find was baseball, ice hockey, then NBA.
And you were using your football and your boxing.
Yes, I couldn't. Now it's easier to watch football. You could pay extra, maybe $9.99, and you could get the package for Europe and watch the Champions League or EPL or whatever. At the time, no, there was nothing.
So this was 2002. You came back.
Yes.
And you've been in Ghana since.
No. I came back for about 3 weeks. Okay. I just wanted to be back. Okay. And when I got back here, I forgot myself. I thought I lived here. Okay. I was supposed to go back by a certain time. I almost missed my flight. Wow. So I was able to make the flight. Okay. I was called and I made arrangements. And
you stayed for a bit.
And then I went back. And then I came back 2 more times. I came back 3 times within 18 months. I wanted to settle. Okay. But some Kululu people here also, you know, took my money. So I said, oh, really? Okay, forget it. So for 10 years, I shut my mind off. And then...
So you stayed in the U.S. for 10 years?
Yes, but straight after that.
Let's quickly talk about your book because we are running out of time. So you're launching
and then,
it
well,
tomorrow?
my sister, my mother, and my niece came over. It's like, you know, my middle child said Dad didn't love him. And that killed me. So I said, okay, I'm going. Within 6 months, packed my stuff. I left all my stuff there.
This was 2014 that you came
2014, back? February.
2014. And in 2019, he's launching a book tomorrow night. Boom Boxing Arena. It's on Ghana's past world boxing champions, all of them profiled in an exciting book. Just a bit of detail before we sign out.
Yes, I was thinking, the 10 world champions, how come the people of, the Ghana people have produced 7 out of the 10 world champions? Right. So I did some research, found out, you know, dates back way back to the Asafo Atrali days.
Okay.
You know, they decided, the Ghana people decided that they raise their kids along their traditional lines, but they raise to respect their elders, but to settle all disputes and differences with their fists.
Right.
So raised kids from 5 upwards and pair them up. At the time, there used to be inter-community battles organized regularly.
Right.
You know, they'll fight under the moonlight.
Right.
With the stoic, you know, patrons watching them, observing the silent code of non-mediation in the often fierce but even bloody fight.
Right.
At the end of it, you shake hands. If you lost to me, you shake hands and then you let go of your anger. And it was a way of getting their kids to lose fear, period, and losing fear of violence and getting used to combat. You know, another way of raising an army to defend the community.
So those sort of constitute the origins of
the event of enemy aggression.
For boxing for
exactly. So that's how it started over time. So the Ghana people have no fear of violence. So if you're going to get in the ring with a Ghana person trained well, then it's over for you. So no wonder that 7 of our world champions
have been guys. And you've got it all in the book. What's the title?
Everything. Ghana Boxing, Celebration of Our World Champion.
Ghana Boxing, Celebration of Our World Champion.
Volume 3.
Right. So it will be launched tomorrow, Bukom Boxing Arena from 6 p.m. I believe.
Yes.
To 8 p.m. Is it free admission?
By invitation.
By invitation, yes. But I'm sure that you can get details across media, social media as well. So, Mr. Ekow Asmah, thank you very much for joining us. Congrats on your upcoming publication. We hope to get a copy of the book and join in the celebration.
I'll be back here with it.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this exciting edition of the Storyteller Story series. We've been talking with Mr. Ekow Asmah. He's a writer, currently a freelance journalist who is about to launch a book, Ghana's World Boxing Champion, a celebration of Ghana's World Boxing Champions. Tomorrow night, Bukom Boxing Arena, 6 to 8 p.m. We're back for normal service of Sports Extra tomorrow night, 7:30 to 8 p.m. Until then, my name is Fiifi Anaman. It's good night. God bless.